Good morning. We're here for the Veterans History Project. It's July 8th, 2017 in Liverpool, New York, the United States of America. Could you state your full name for the record, sir?
Yes, Robert Henry Reed.
And what is the date of your birth?
November 9, 1919.
And where were you born?
In London, England.
Okay. And what were the names of your parents?
My father's name was Frederick, and my mother's name was Alice.
Okay. Did you have any siblings?
I had two sisters. They're both younger than I. Jean was the elder one, and Molly was the youngest.
Okay. Very good. And let's fast forward. Now, you were raised in England.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the time that you were a young man and thinking about joining military service. Give us a little idea on what your thoughts were at that time about why you were doing it.
Well, in 1938, if you recall, or you weren't there, but in 1938, Mr. Chamberlain came back waving a sheet of paper, having met Hitler, saying peace in our time. And like me, most people thought that, well, it's not really peace in our time, we'd probably better get repaired. And while most chaps joined the territorial army, I met a chap who was in the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve, which appealed to me more, and so I joined that late in 38, and which entailed going up to London twice a week for 2 hours training each night, and doing 2 weeks service with the Navy. And in May 1939, I had 2 weeks in the battleship HMS Rodney, and which was great fun. And then on the 28th of August, had left school and I was working, and my mother phoned me. She said, "Oh, there's a telegram for you." So I said, "Well, what does it say?" She said, "You have to report aboard HMS President tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in uniform and with all your gear." So that was my call up by telegram, and so the next morning off I go to London and report aboard HMS President, which was the headquarters of the London division of the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve. And I was immediately sent to Chatham Royal Naval Barracks, which is about 60 miles out of London on the estuary of the Thames on the south side. And I was appointed, or I was drafted to an armed merchant cruiser, the HMS Dunnottar Castle, which was a liner belonging to the Union Castle Line, which was being converted to a cruiser in the up in the Tyne in Newcastle area, and we just waited in barracks until it was ready to move up there. And I think it must have been about, I think we had about a month in Chatham Barracks. But of course, on the 29th of August, the war hadn't been declared, but on the 3rd of September, that was the declaration of war, we had issued an ultimatum to Hitler to remove his troops from Poland, whom they'd invaded on the 1st of September, and if they weren't out by 11 o'clock on the 3rd, which was a Sunday, we were to consider ourselves at war with Germany, and that's what happened.
And this is 1939, correct?
1939,
okay.
Yeah.
Could we talk, let's go back just a bit. What kind of training did they offer you when you were in the reserves and then when you entered?
Well, I was a gunnery rating, so we did gun training and the usual squad drill with rifles and and learning signals, but more and seamanship, of course, was the main thing. But being a gunnery rating, gunnery was the thing. So when I was drafted to this armed merchant cruiser, I was appointed to a 6-inch gun.
Okay. And had you, prior to joining the reserves, had you had any nautical experience or aptitude?
No. My only time at sea was my 2 weeks in the Rodney in May of '39.
Okay. All right. So let's move back to your first assignment and talk a little bit about the nature of that assignment and what you were doing there.
Oh, when the ship was ready, it was a 15,000-ton liner, and we thought, this is marvellous, liner, cabins, all that sort of thing. So we go up to Newcastle, and we find that the ship has had 4 6-inch guns placed aboard it, and several anti-aircraft guns, one thing or another. But the thought of a cabin was out. They'd completely stripped the ship of cabins and living space, except for the first-class accommodation, which was the officer accommodation, as it turned out to be. But it was a good ship, plenty of room.
So accommodations, could you describe the difference between your accommodations and the officers' accommodations?
Officers' accommodation, well, you know what, you can imagine a cabin aboard a ship, a liner.
A luxury liner, a regular?
Yeah. For me, a hammock.
Okay. So there's quite a bit of difference.
Oh, yeah, yes, indeed.
And I assume you didn't eat with them?
Oh, no.
What was the protocol on your mess hall versus their dining room? Was quite a difference, or?
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, I mean, the wardroom and the mess deck.
Yeah. Okay, so quite a difference in class.
I mean, I didn't expect otherwise.
Yeah. And now you said you were first responsible for a 6-inch gun. Tell us a little bit about the gun.
The 6-inch gun, well, it's a big chap, and these guns had been used in World War I, so they were vintage pieces, you might say. Now, of course, I was not a member of the gun crew per se. I was ammunition supply. Now, being a liner, there was none of the hydraulic lifting gear from where the shells are kept, from the magazine up to the gun. So around the deck were little brackets to take the shells. Now a shell for a 6-inch gun weighs about 100 pounds. They're very low to the deck. They had to be low because if you had it on a high support, when the ship rolled, the weight of it would sort of pull it over.
So it made it top heavy.
Made it very top heavy. So they were very low. Now, I was ammunition supply. I'm not exactly 6'6", but and to pick up a 100-pound shell from low down and walk it up about 10 yards to the because it could be 10 yards because they were spread all around. So if you were lucky, you might be close to the gun, but no. So it wasn't ideal, and I hoped that there'd never be an occasion where we'd be at action stations and I'd have to actually do my ammunition supply.
So you had to be in very good shape at that point to pick up a 100-pound shell.
I did it with difficulty, you might say.
Mm-hmm. Well, how tall did you stand at the time? I mean, what's your...
I probably lost a bit of height, but I was probably 5'7", then I'm down to 5'6" and a snitch at the moment.
And how much did you weigh at the time?
I've no idea, probably about 130, something like that.
Okay, so just a little more than what you had to lift. You were almost lifting your own weight.
More or less, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the basic nature of the gun. How far would a gun like that, how far could its projectile travel?
Well, it'd probably be about 10,000 yards. I'm not quite really sure, but a good range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Tell us a little bit more about that. Did you ever have to use the guns?
Not in action, no.
Okay. And did they have you practice with them occasionally?
Oh, yes, we used to fire.
How was your accuracy?
Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so you were in charge of loading the guns, and then.
But then we went to sea, and we were convoying, escorting convoys between UK and Freetown in West Africa, in Sierra Leone.
Were the U-boats operational at that time?
Oh, sure.
And they were they in the practice of attacking at that point, despite the letter that Chamberlain had?
We fortunately never encountered any, thank goodness. Yeah.
But they were operating, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when we came back after our first convoy, and we had engine trouble, and we had to put in in Gibraltar at Christmas time, 1939, for minor repairs. And then we were, as the ship had been built in Belfast, at Hull and the Wolf, where the Titanic had been built, we were sent there for proper repairs because they had all the engine details, that sort of thing. And while we were there, I had my accident. I fell off a gangway and broke my wrist. And the powers that be decided that I could no longer lift a shell, which was rather good. And I was appointed as captain's messenger, and which was a very nice job because I was at his beck and call, and and on watch at sea. My station was in the wheelhouse, and there I learnt to the bosun would let me take my spell on the wheel, so I got to learn to drive a liner.
So kind of unofficially, you got a little bit of training there.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Did your accommodations change as a
No,
result?
no,
You
no.
still had to sleep down in the cot.
But I got some perks because at night time I used to have to bring up some coffee and sandwiches for the officer of the watch, and any leftovers I got. So it did have its perks.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so just keep walking us forward as you recall it. What happened next, and any memorable experiences are good to have.
Well, then, yeah, we went on our next with repairs done. We went down early in 1940. We did our second convoy duty, and on the way back we were diverted to keep guard between Santos and Rio de Janeiro because there was a German ship there, a merchant ship which was going to come out. It had to come out because I think the laws were, if there's a war on, a ship couldn't stay in harbour any longer than so many days. I don't know the full details. Anyway, we knew she was coming out, so when she came out we captured her, put a boarding party on, and took her off, escorted her back to where did we go? To Gibraltar, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
Then we came home. In the meantime, I was doing training for able seamen, and I made able seaman, and then I was recommended for officer training, and eventually, I think it was in May 1940, I was sent to Royal Naval Barracks, Portsmouth, for the selection board, which I passed.
So now you'd only been in for a short amount of time, but they tapped you to become an officer. How does that? Did they just bring that up with you? Did you express an interest? What caught their eye?
I was, I suppose, I was in the eye of the command, as you might say, being captain's messenger. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it really started.
So you were doing something that they took note of, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the training that comes with being an officer.
Yes, so I passed the selection board, and we were sent to, I say we because I think there were 6 or 7 from down off the castle who were also selected for officer training, and we all went down to Hove, which is in the south of England near Brighton, to an establishment called HMS King Alfred, and that was the officers' training, where, what was it, 3 months, and September, almost a year from the date of war starting, I was commissioned as a sub-lieutenant and appointed to combined operations, which was landing craft, all that jazz. Mm-hmm. I'm a bit disappointed because you're asked what sort of ship would you like to go to. I really wanted to go to MTBs.
Motor torpedo boats?
Yes. A second choice, destroyers. Didn't mean a thing. At the time, it was a little infra-dig combined operations, but as it turned out, it was quite good fun.
Now, when you say you were a sub-lieutenant, that's a rank, correct? Not as in...
Right, okay. One up from midshipman. Midshipman, sub-lieutenant, lieutenant, and then lieutenant commander.
Okay. All right, so tell us a little bit about your next assignment, the landing craft operations.
Oh, yes. I did a little bit of about a month's training in England, on the south coast, on Hayling Island actually, which is close to Portsmouth, and then I was sent to Scotland for about a month to do more up there on the west coast, and then I was sent on leave. This was about Christmas, 1940, where when I was on leave, I got a letter assigning me to HMS Saunders, which was a shore establishment for combined operations in the Middle East, in Egypt, in a place called Kabrit, which is halfway down the Suez Canal.
Mm-hmm. And the Saunders was what type of vessel?
So it was a tented shore establishment.
Oh, so they used the word HMS Saunders, but it was not a vessel.
Every establishment is a ship.
Okay. If it's in the Navy, it's a ship, no matter whether it floats or not?
Exactly. In those days, it was His Majesty's. Nowadays, it's Her Majesty's.
Okay. Well, it works. You got that H going on.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. You're in. Okay, so you're in Kabrit now.
Well, so to get out there, I was told to join a ship, a merchant ship, in Newport, which is in South Wales, and from there, and to take on board 4 tank landing craft, the small type. Small, just took one. Each craft could take 1 tank or a big truck, lorry. So I joined the ship there at Newport, and as a Welsh captain was a real Welsh captain.
Describe that for the people that don't know what that means.
Well, I mean, he was a Welshman, and I mean, he was very much a Welshman. You probably wouldn't appreciate it, but I...
Tell us a little bit about that, because not everybody would understand that.
Well, he spoke with a Welsh accent for a start, and he was rather full of himself. He said, I've never run a ship ashore in all my time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, touch wood, sort of thing. So anyway, we set off to join a convoy in the Firth of Clyde, up in north in Scotland, just off Glasgow. We go up there, and we get there early, and we were told that if we got there early to run up and down the line until daylight to join the convoy. So we ran up and down this line. It was dark, of course. And of course, we ran aground.
This is the guy who's never run aground
Never
before.
ran aground. This is about 3 o'clock in the morning.
A little hubris.
I was asleep I had no duties on board. I was just a passenger. It was I nearly fell out of my bunk. It was quite
Abrupt.
very much so. Anyway, to cut a long story short, the captain was relieved, and the first mate of another of one of the other ships in that shipping line, it was the Stanhope shipping line. He came over, a chap named Taylor. Was it Taylor? It could be. Anyway, nice fellow. And we got on well together, and we set sail eventually in convoy. As soon as we left sort of got to the north, to the coast of France, we were dispersed, and we continued on our own all the way to Egypt, going the route round the south of South Africa.
Now that tell us about that. That's the Cape of
Good Hope.
Good Hope, and that's known to be very rough.
Yes.
How was your experience going around the Cape?
It's very good. We stopped off at Cape Town for a while, and then Durban, but otherwise they were the only 2 stops en route.
So the weather treated you good.
Oh yeah. And the captain. He was very good. He taught me how to use a sextant for positioning the ship, which was, as it turned out, it was good training for later life. Mm-hmm. Well, we eventually got to Port Said, going up the canal, the Suez Canal, and disembarked. And I thought I'd go back down the canal to Saunders, to Kabrit, but it transpired I had to wait in Port Said for 6 weeks, which was quite enjoyable.
Tell us a little bit about how you kept busy. Now, you're how old at this time?
I was 20.
Okay, so tell us what a 20-year-old does with 6 weeks on his hands.
I don't think I should tell you. Port Said? No.
Tell us what the other guys did, because you probably stayed home and read books, right?
Yes. Yes, so shall we say I got to know Port Said probably better than I do Syracuse. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it wasn't all fun. The canal company had a big dockyard there, and they were utilised in doing repairs to our Navy ships, and also putting together the big tank landing craft. They used to come out in 3 pieces, and they'd be put in the canal company's dockyard, and they put them together. Mm-hmm. Little did I know then that I would have a command at one time later. So I don't know, the time went by, and then one night in May, it must have been about the 28th of May, urgent call, pack your bags, you're joining a ship. And I'd been living in the Casino Palace Hotel for 6 weeks, and that was, it really was very, very nice. So I packed my bags, and there was a boat provided, and I was sent out to a ship called HMS Glengyle, which was a combined operations ship which had landing craft. It was built for, well, it was a converted merchant ship, but it was quite right for the job of conversion for carrying landing craft and things like that. So I jump aboard the Glengyle, and before I know where we are, we're off north to Crete.
And this is in May of 41,
yeah.
Roughly? Okay.
Yeah. No, May of 41, sorry.
Okay. And what's the mission? Why are you going to Crete? Do you know at this point, or are they keeping secrets?
En route, we were told to disembark, to take off, to evacuate Allied forces who'd been sent to Greece earlier, and the German strength was such that they had to fall back to the island of Crete, and there we were to evacuate the British forces and Allied forces.
And at that time, it was British, and who were the other allies that do you recall?
Well, there'd be Australians and New Zealanders. I'm not sure if any Canadians, but they were possibly French too. I doubt French, but certainly Commonwealth forces.
Okay, so they was it a bit urgent? Were they under great pressure to get off?
Yeah, well, the Germans had been landing their paratroops and
on Crete.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the middle of the night, I think it was the 30th of May. Could have been. Anyway, I think it was the last day of the month, and so they said, "Here's an assault landing craft. Go in, get as many off as you can." So I had a crew of a coxswain and a chap who ran the engines. There were a couple of petrol engines driven. They were designed to take a platoon of soldiery.
About how many?
30.
Okay.
So off I go with others, of course, and land on Sparkia Beach, which is on the south of Crete. I expected to find chaos there, but no, it was very calm. The beach master had everything under control. He said, "Take walking wounded first," which took a boatload of those. Where to? Well, there are plenty of ships there because the whole squadron of ships went up, cruisers and destroyers. And so the first ship I found, I put the walking wounded aboard, then went back for 2 or 3 more loads. I forget now how many I did all told, but so in the early hours of the morning, we weighed anchor, the whole flotilla, on it, and went set sail for Alexandria in Egypt, and we had several air raids, air attacks en route back. But
what type of plane?
German Stukas and they missed us, so we got back all right.
All right, so this is September 41.
Right.
Now you're getting close
to...
No,
May 41.
May of 41. Okay, I'm sorry, to Crete. All right, so I'll let you move along at your pace. And what came next?
Yeah, we got back to Alexandria, and then I had orders eventually to, after all this time, to join HMS Saunders at Kabrit. So I forget now how I got there, but I think it must have been... I would train to somewhere, and anyway, I got there and was appointed to a tent, and had to get used to tent life, which I'd never done before, and all the usual outside facilities, you might say, which is
It'd be quite a bit warmer in
very much so.
Kabrit.
So the rig there was khaki.
That was, when you say the rig, the
khaki dress.
Oh, khakis. Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell.
So then, the idea there was we were just. We were on the shores of the little bit of in the Suez Canal. There are two big lakes, sort of halfway down, the Great Bitter Lake and the Little Bitter Lake, and we were on the west side of the Little Bitter Lake, where we had the tents, and on the other side of the road was a Royal Air Force station, and next door to us was a big army camp where loads of soldiery used to come, and we would train them with landing craft, landing craft were intended to land, not to take off. So they were there to get to know all the ropes about landing.
So now the landing craft, again, were they the different sizes of landing
Oh
craft?
yes, they were. I was given a flotilla of assault landing craft, which were the ones I used to go to Crete. They're designed to take a platoon, which is about 30 soldiers.
And were these all of the British design and manufacture? This
Yeah,
type of, okay.
yeah. And so this went on for quite a while. In between times, the Germans would come over and drop the odd bomb on the Royal Air Force Station, and one or two would land in our place, but fortunately no casualties. So, and in the meantime too, of course, we about every month or so a new regiment or battalion of soldiers would come into the next door camp, and we would give them the necessary training, and off they go fight in the desert, the 8th Army. And that went on, and then I think it's about Christmas time, 1941, or just after, I was appointed to command a tank landing craft, one of the big jobs, who came out in 3 sections and were put together up in Port Said, and I was appointed captain of A116.
Okay, so let's you said it was Christmas of 41.
Yeah.
So let's go back just a little bit. That's early December was Pearl Harbor. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts when you heard about that.
Yeah, well, as was usual, this was before I joined A116. As was usual, about dinner time, evening, we'd adjourn to the bar and have a gin or two, and the radio would be on, and I was at the bar with a few chums, and the news came on about Pearl Harbor. So we sort of thought, well, it's taken a long time, but you're with us. And that was that.
What was the thought at the time about America from the British perspective? Was there a big, why aren't the Americans coming in, or what was the thought before Pearl Harbor? Let's say.
You were giving us help. I mean, material wise.
The Lend-Lease program and all the.
Yeah, and I think unofficially your ships were sort of keeping a watch near your side, or near the States. But I think we thought it was inevitable, and that was the
catalytic event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll let you pick it back up. You again, Christmas of 41. You were talking a little bit, and pick up your timeline again.
Yeah. So then, as I say, I was appointed to 116, and so I had some training to do there, because I'd never handled such a craft in all my life.
About how big is that type craft?
They were about 120 feet long, I think, and they had 3 engines, but only 2 telegraphs to control, which is a bit difficult. But we sorted it out and came to some arrangement. I think I used the starboard telegraph for the centerline engine, and the port telegraph for the 2 outboard ones, something like that.
And anyway, the telegraph was to communicate
communicate to the engine room to what to do with his
Okay.
donkeys.
Okay, because it was actually some type of verbal communication, and then they manually did what you told them?
Yeah,
And-
that's
okay.
You've seen them on
So there
ships.
wasn't direct connection mechanically from the helms, from the tower, I'm trying to think of the word, downstairs.
From the bridge.
Right. It was all verbal,
It was verbal to the coxswain who was below,
and then it was yeah,
and he had the
power control.
he had we had there'd be a fellow on the telegraphs. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. When I say telegraph, it's purely mechanical. I'm sure you've seen.
Oh, so it's mechanical. So you would pull a lever, and downstairs it would give them the same instructions.
Repeat, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a mechanical
Yeah,
telegraph.
yes, and a bell, it would clang, so it called attention to it.
Okay.
But it was a verbal command from the bridge to the wheelhouse where these telegraphs were.
Okay, got it. Most people in modern day wouldn't understand
No,
that
no.
it was more mechanically oriented.
Well, now it's all done by, I think, by the helmsman with pressing a button. But I'm a little out of touch these days.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now you're in charge of a very large vessel.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. So that took a bit of training because I had to practice to land to ground the ship. And
Tell us a little bit about the technique to make sure you ground it, but maybe not too much or too little. Or...
Well, that my first grounding, I really grounded. I was stuck. Now we had a kedge anchor to pull you off, but I burnt out the electric motor which drove the wind.
That pulled on the anchor line.
So I was on the beach for 3 days when I should have been on there for an hour, the most. But it's all good fun.
All part of the learning
All
process.
part of the learning, yeah. And of course, I used to plough up and down the Suez Canal and practice on the beaches there, and eventually found myself with 3 others. We were sent up to Port Said because this was sort of getting to be mid 1942, and the war in the desert was getting a little grim. It was the Rommel's army and the 8th Army. They were sort of moving backwards and forwards, and the Germans were getting stronger, and they were a little worried that they could eventually reach Egypt. So the powers that be decided that they should evacuate Alexandria, because Alexandria was quite a base for the Royal Navy. There was dockyard and workshops. And so it was decided they should disperse, and we, in our tank landing craft, were sent up to Beirut in the Lebanon. So we went up there in convoy, and we were there. We stayed there for, I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks. We were just alongside and waiting for further orders, and it was just it's rather nice up there, because Beirut in those days was known as the Paris of the Mediterranean. It was a very nice city, and I was able to get a friend. Well, several of us, we rented a taxi, hired a taxi, and drove into Damascus for the day to see the street called Strait and John the Baptist's tomb, and sort of a general day's outing, which was rather fun. I think, though, at the end of it must have been about 3 weeks up there, and eventually they sent us back. We had orders to go back to Alexandria, And so we set off back to Alexandria. Things had quietened down a bit, sort of stabilised a bit. And in the meantime, well, while I was at Saunders, in Kabrit, my commanding officer was a ex-World War I submarine commander, and he said to me one day, he said, would you be interested in a special job? He said, I can't tell you much about it, but can you swim 2 miles, do you think? I said, I haven't tried that, but I suppose if it was necessary, I'd do my best. He said, well, you'll hear something perhaps later. Well, anyway, back to Alexandria, where we'd come down from Beirut. When I got there, I had orders that I was to leave my A116, so I'm going to, they're the ugliest ships possible, but they're beautiful when you're in command. I was sorry to leave her, and I was appointed to HMS Dolphin in England, in Gosport, Hampshire, which was the home of the submarine service.
So was the Dolphin a submarine?
No.
Okay.
What we call a stone frigate.
Oh, again, that was another land bait. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and there's a certain urgency. So I was going to fly. It was what they termed an air-sea passage. So I was given orders to report to Cairo. So I went by train from Alexandria to Cairo. Have you ever been, if anyone's been aboard an Egyptian train, I don't know what they're like now, but in those days it was quite interesting to say the least. But they always had a job to take off. They had to sort of go back a bit and then start. Can I do it? Can I do it? And then they do it. It's rather like getting up a chair if you're not too young. Anyway, well, I got to Cairo, and I was given a ticket to join a Sabina Airlines, a Belgian Airlines plane, to fly to Lagos in Nigeria, which is on the other side of the African coast. Yes, so I joined the plane, and we flew to Khartoum, and then down to it's the source of the Nile. The name escapes me for the moment, but it'll come. And there we spent the night under pretty rustic conditions, I might say. And the next day we flew off to, in those days I think it was called Stanleyville in the Congo, and then the next day to Douala in the Cameroons, and the next day we landed at Lagos. So it was quite a exciting, interesting, and pretty low flying. So you could see all the wild animals, and it was very interesting. But of course, in those days, it wasn't like travel as it is now. It was pretty austere.
Had you flown before this, or was this?
I'd been on I think a $5 ride to you, a joyride when I was on holiday, I think. Yeah, but that was my real flight. That was my first real flying.
Okay.
Yeah, good fun. And I landed in Lagos and was put up in an army transit camp. I had 10 days there to await passage to England, and eventually 10 days after I joined a ship called the Incamati, which was a passenger cargo ship bound for Liverpool. I joined her as a passenger, but she became the commodore of the convoy ship. We embarked a retired Royal Naval Captain who was given the rank of commodore, and he was in charge of the convoy of all the escorts. And so we set off, and we encountered two attacks by submarine, lost some ships, 3 I think all told, but eventually arrived in Liverpool, where I disembarked, and I think I went on. Yes, I reported straight away to Dolphin.
Now, was this the first time you experienced hostile enemy aggression in your direction, or was?
Well, coming back from Crete, we were attacked by German aircraft, yes, and bombed, but
you said they had missed. What are your thoughts those first couple of times that you had experienced, hostilities firsthand?
Oh, let's hope it's not me. Because you could hear the bombs falling, and ships were zigzagging, and you hoped it would be a splash and not a hit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So, in the meantime, I understood the reason I was going back to UK, and that was to join midget submarines. And I gave it some thought, and so when the thought being that midget submarines, it was going to be special. They were unknown then.
They were secret projects.
So it to me that was going to be loads and loads of training and probably little action. I'm not a brave man by any means. I wasn't looking for action, but I thought, well, sitting around, it would be a little tedious, to say the least.
What was the mission of the midget submarines?
I didn't know. I didn't know then. Anyway, when I got to Dolphin, the submarine headquarters, I was interviewed by the commander submarines there, and I said, would it be possible to join submarines proper? Because when I was in port side and was close to the Canal Company's dockyard, 3 British submarines came in for minor repairs, and I got to know the fellows, went aboard, and it sort of appealed to me. So I had that in mind when I was being interviewed by Commander Submarines. So he said, no problem. He said, you haven't any leave for a while, go home on leave for a week, and then report to Scotland, to HMS Cyclops, which is a submarine depot ship. So I went on my leave and eventually got up to Scotland and reported on board HMS Cyclops, and to await submarine officers training class, which was later in the year. Now this must have been about September, I suppose. Yeah, September 42. And so that I wasn't wasting my time, I was appointed to the submarine Otway, which was being used to train officers for command. And that command course is known as the perisher, because if you fail the course, you're out of submarines. So I was appointed to as a spare officer in to Otway. It was under the command of a very famous submarine commander. His name, Commander Boggy Bone, he was known as. Lots of decorations, and he was the fellow in charge of the fellows who were training to be commanding officers. And I was appointed to the attack teacher, to the attack team. So when these chaps took it in turn to make an attack on a surface ship, I was on the attack team, and I was doing the plotting, all that sort of thing. So that was really good training, absolutely wonderful.
Tell us a little bit about the process of those calculations. You can tell us now or maybe when it's more appropriate, but I'm curious what kind of things you considered when you plotted an attack.
Well, I suspect, of course, this was the first time I dived in a submarine. That was little exciting, to say the least. But I mean, once you've done it, piece of cake.
Mm-hmm.
As to the attack team, well, the officer on the periscope carrying the attack would give out bearings and range, and from knowing your own course and the enemy course too, from his sightings, you could keep a plot. You could run draw your line and his line of approach. And
how did you judge their speed?
He did.
So was it a judgment, or was there some type of instrument that helped?
Yeah, then there was a machine, calculator, which was known as a fruit machine. Someone else was on that and put in information. It automatically kept a record of your own ship's course and speed, and you could put in your enemy course and speed, and from that you evolved a what is known as the attack angle on the periscope. So you offset your periscope certain degrees, and when the ship got to that, it was time to fire your torpedoes.
And for the record, these machines were really mechanical computers, correct?
Right.
There were no electronics.
All hand-driven.
Right, so it uses wheels and cams and
yes.
gears.
The only sort of automatic thing about it was it was tied up to your compass,
mm-hmm.
and so that kept going, and your log.
And you essentially had to aim the entire vessel to aim a torpedo? Or?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so yes. You had to get that vessel in the right orientation.
You'd aim off, actually.
To where you think they're going to be.
Yes, and that was the idea of your angle from the periscope. The periscope would be angled off, so it would give time for the enemy ship to get to the line of where your torpedoes were hoped to be.
And how many? How did you decide how many torpedoes to fire at once, or how did that go?
It's up to the captain.
So would they ever just fire one, or was it always an array?
Usually a salvo.
Okay, so there'd be a number of them, and they'd have different coordinates, or would they all go to the same spot?
They'd all be going on the same line.
Okay.
And in other words, you get a spread.
Okay, an intentional spread to allow for some.
Well, yes.
And what was the detonating mechanism at that time? Was it impact? Was it magnetic? What was the...
Well, in those days, I think the magnetic there must have been impact, I think. But there may have been, I can't recall, I don't recall.
Okay, but it would have been one of the two,
yeah,
correct?
yes, yeah.
All right, interesting. All right, so we digressed briefly, but let you get back on your timeline there.
So Yes, I did my time in Otway, and then it was time to go to the officer training, submarine officer training school, which was at a place called Blythe near Newcastle. And I did 3 months there, which took us over Christmas '42. And while I was there, I heard I'd been promoted, which is dated back to July, so I had some accelerated promotion, which was all good. So I became a lieutenant and finished my submarine course. Went on a week's leave, I think, and I received an appointment to H-28, which was a World War I submarine used for training purposes. And I had to go to Londonderry, where she was based.
And that was just they used numerals and no name?
No name,
okay.
H-28. Yes.
Well, why did a ship have a name versus a number? Was there a protocol for the reason that you would do that or not?
All submarines had a pennant number, but after I don't know when it happened, but it was obviously after World War I. But the submarines had a name too.
Okay, so they had both. Okay, did they all? Okay, very good. Okay.
Oh yeah. So I'm in Londonderry, and at the transatlantic docks. Now, in the old days, when liners called in to Londonderry to pick up passengers or disembark, they couldn't get to Londonderry itself because it was down Loch Foyle. Impossible for a ship. So they used to lie off at sea, and they'd be transported down the river to Londonderry at transatlantic docks.
And that's because of the depth in the draft, or what was you said?
Well,
it was impossible.
Yes.
Okay, so it just wouldn't handle the vessel.
They couldn't handle big vessels. So we were based there. Then we had to go up to Loch Foyle for training. This was for our own training to get accustomed to running a boat. Submarines are called boats, by the way.
Okay.
Running a boat, and at the same time give exercise to surface ships with their anti-submarine equipment. So we would go up. We'd have to go miles up to Loch Foyle, and then out to sea to join up with ships to exercise for them to do what is known as ping running, because with sonar, it wasn't known as sonar then, it was ASDICs, anti-submarine detection and so when the wave hits you, the sound wave hits you, it pings at the receiving end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's known as ping running.
Okay.
So we did that for.
And you're out in the Atlantic doing this?
No, north of Ireland.
North of Ireland. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there U-boat activity at that time?
Well, it could have been.
Okay, so you were kind of in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but it was fairly safe waters.
Okay.
So I did about 2 months in her, and it was just decided she hadn't been in a refit for a long time, so we were ordered to take her to Sheerness, which is in the Thames, an island in the Thames estuary. So we set sail what date would that be? That must have been, where are we? Oh, gosh. Oh, 43, early 43. We set sail for Sheerness and eventually arrived there. But on the way, we came down the Irish Sea, south of England. On the way, we had to stop in at Gosport at HMS Dolphin.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was there, I was sent for by Commander Submarines. He said, your next appointment is to an operational boat, HMS Thrasher, a T-class submarine, the biggest we had.
Okay.
T-class were like that model there. And he said, your CO is in the wardroom now, you can go and make your number with him. So his name is Lieutenant Heslett. So I go into the wardroom, he's sitting there in front of a blazing fire. I introduced myself. He said, oh, good to meet you. You're going to be my third hand and navigator in Thrasher. He said,
okay.
So I said, oh, fine. When do I join you? So he said, well, when you get to Sheerness, he said, you'll go on leave and then you'll report. You'll have something in writing while you're on the leave. So I went back on leave.
Okay.
So I went on my leave, and I received information. Instead of going to Chatham Royal Naval Dockyard, where Thrasher was doing a refit for a second commission. She'd been in the Mediterranean under a different captain for about 18 months. So, and she'd come back for refit and a change of crew. And Lieutenant Heslett had been appointed the new CO, and we were his new team. So I got the information, instead of going to Chatham immediately, that I was to go back to the submarine training school in Blyth, where there was a mock-up of a control room. It was an American, it was bought from America. It was called the Escania, as I recall. And there was a mock-up with periscopes and it was hydraulic operated, and you could you could put motion to it, and you could. It was
a simulator,
an absolute mock-up of a submarine control room,
mm-hmm.
where you could you could do attacks. It was all beautifully set up, and model ships to do on the surface, and really quite fantastic. Anyway, so we were up there for the attack team. This was just the attack team, not the whole ship's company, just the attack team. So we were up there, I think, about a week, and then we all went to Chatham, got our stuff in Chatham Barracks. The dockyard adjoins. So, and there was Thrasher finishing up a refit. Eventually she finished the refit, and we were sent to Scotland to join up with the submarine depot ship HMS Forth at Holy Lock.
And you went on the Thrasher to get there?
Oh yes. We were working up all the way, and when we got to Forth, there was set exercises we had to do, torpedo trials and gunnery trials and all that jazz.
Now, can you take a moment and describe the nature of a T-class submarine, which the Thrasher was? Give us a little idea, size, and some of the things it could do.
She's about 300 feet long, carries 11 torpedoes, 8 forward, and 3 astern. Now, the stern torpedoes, there's 1 on the centre line and 2, 1 on each side, but they're external. So once you've fired those, you can't reload. Now forward, you have 8. The 2 top ones are also external. So once you've fired those, you can't reload. But below, you have 6, which you can reload.
So how many torpedoes did you actually carry?
We carried the 11. Each torpedo, each tube was loaded, and then we had 6 replacement.
Okay.
For the forward 6 internal.
Give us an idea of speed and probably depth, things like that.
Well, the normal speed was probably travelling. When you're on patrol, it depends on the situation as to speed. But 14 knots surface, and probably 8 dived full out. But normally, if you're just plodding along periscope depth, you'd probably be 2 or 3 knots. I mean, once you're dived, you're on batteries, so you have to conserve your juice.
How long could it stay under? And I know it's dependent on speed again, but and oxygen.
I think it depends on the situation. Honestly, I have no idea.
Less than a day, do you think, or more than a day, or?
If you've got someone up there waiting for you, you probably.
It'll be longer.
I'm so often asked this question, and I haven't a clue how long you could stay down.
Okay.
I mean.
That's fine. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you were doing again, and we'll go back to the timeline.
Oh yeah, I was I was appointed as third hand and navigating officer in the submarines. Submarine command, you have the captain, you have the first lieutenant or executive officer, then you have he's the second hand, but never known as second hand. And then the third hand, who's the next senior officer, that would happen to be me, and he decided, the captain Heslett, Baldy Heslett, he had a nickname, Baldy Heslett, by his peers. He said, "You're giving me my navigator and office wallah, communications, everything which is not associated with armament." And the fourth hand, Peter Cullen, who'd been in the submarine training class before me, he'd been appointed too. He was the gunnery officer and torpedo officer. That was the complement, really. But we always had but in wartime we had a spare officer he fitted in where necessary.
Did the vessel also have external guns for surface running?
She carried the T-class and the S-class, which is one smaller class. They carried a 4-inch gun on deck. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we worked up. Until it was deemed that we were fit to go to sea as an operational submarine, and the routine was, once you were declared fit, you'd go off on a 2 weeks patrol, and they sent us up off the coast of Norway to play havoc with anyone we saw, and it was a very quiet patrol. Being the first, for us, it was the first time we'd been on active duty on patrol, so it was a little strange and exciting. what more can I say? It was, and of course, I particularly remember too the weather wasn't all that good, so it wasn't a good start to active service duty in submarines. But it went off. Oh, we were. I yes, I remember that. As an experiment, they wanted us to carry some miniature. It was a miniature type submarine called a Wellman craft, which was, I think, as memory serves, was going to be manned by army personnel for the purpose of reconnaissance of beaches. That's right, yes. It was known as Wellman craft. And we carried, we had two on the upper deck, and we had to, while we were on patrol, we had to release them and bring them back into they had a special cradles which they sat in. We had to release them and bring them back aboard. And we carried an officer for that purpose, because to try them out, and he poodled off for a few yards from the ship and then came back. Nothing exciting, but I think they died a natural death, actually. Anyway, we got back after our 2 weeks, and we were sent. Oh, we had leave, that's right. I must say the submarine service was pretty good for leave in many ways. Maybe short times, but very good. And then we came back for our second patrol. By this time, the midget submarines had become operational, and it was decided that we would be joining up with 5 others to participate in what was known as Operation Source, which was a midget submarine attack on Germany's largest warship, the Tirpitz, which spent little time at sea, but most of the time in one of the Norwegian fjords way up north, Alton Fjord way up north. Now it so happened that Baldy Heslet, my CO, had, before he'd been in submarines since before the war and been in command since 1941. And but prior to joining Thrasher, he'd been appointed to the for the midget submarine training, so he was well equipped to understand the whys and wherefores of midget submarining, and so I think that was one reason why we were appointed as one of the 6 which would take a midget submarine in tow to attack the Tirpitz. So that's what happened. So our second patrol, after a fair amount of training, learning to tow and communicate with a midget submarine astern of you, we were all sent up to Loch Cairnbourne, which is on the northwest coast of Scotland, north of the Clyde area, and where we all assembled, the 6 major big submarines and the 6 midgets. And eventually, September, whatever the date, September 43, we all set sail for about a 1,000-mile trip to a area off of Norway, off of Alton Fjord, where each major submarine would slip his midget for them to go in to make an attack. Two submarines, 2 midgets on the way were supposed to do a diversionary attack, I think it was on the Scharnhorst. But anyway, one was lost en route, one had engine trouble, and would have been unable to have carried out an attack. And I can't remember, the third one somehow or other developed trouble and was a no-no. Anyway, 3 of us eventually got to the patrol area off of Alton Fjord, and we slipped our midget submarines for them to go in and make the attack. I should say that on the way up, these fellas were on a long tow with telephone communication. During daytime, we had to dive because, you know, enemy aircraft, and surface at night. I think about 2 days after leaving Scotland, we lost telephone contact, which was a little difficult. Another thing I should explain, we carried the operational crew of the midget submarine, and in the midget was a passage crew. So when before they slipped, they swapped crews, if you get me. Mm-hmm. And we took on board the passage crew, and the operational crew set off on their journey. So we carried, we towed X5, midget submarine X5, under the command of a chap called Lieutenant Henty Creer. And they went in, each submarine had a rendezvous area to pick up his own midget at a certain rendezvous area. And now we had to pick up X5. I can't remember the rendezvous position, but we had to wait there on a certain time and date to pick him up. Not one of the midgets returned. 2 got in, X7 and X9. They got in and dropped their load under the turpits. Our man X5, we're not sure. It's believed he got in and was sunk by gunfire from the turpits, but no one is certain. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened. Anyway, the other 2 were taken prisoner, but they dropped their charges, which went off and did considerable damage to the turpits, put her out of action for months. Our chap X5, we waited at the rendezvous for, I think, about 12 hours longer than we should have done.
How far were you from the turpits, the rendezvous point, was it?
Well, the turpits was some 20 miles inland, tucked away in one of the fjords, and we were offshore about 10 miles or so. And each of the major submarines had a patrol area, so that to wait for the time to pick up at the rendezvous. Because when they didn't appear, they went back. Prior to X5 leaving us, we'd arranged that if he hadn't appeared at our rendezvous, he knew he couldn't make it, he should make for one of the islands off of Norway, and we would go in and try see if he was there. And after waiting at the real rendezvous, we went to the unofficial one, which no one knew about it except us. But had to go miss the odd minefield, I think, as I recall. But he wasn't there, so we went back to base.
So they were lost.
They were lost, but it was the operation was a success, in as much that the other two got in and did their damage, but
Sure.
unfortunately they had to surface and were taking POWs for the rest of the war.
Did you ever talk to them after the war?
I talked to Godfrey Place, who he had X. What was he? Did he have X9 or 7? One of the two. I didn't know him awfully well, but I did meet him up after the war. He became a rear admiral, actually. He's since died. And the other, I knew the other CO too. I can't think of his name. Anyway, history. Well, we got back to eventually got back to the Clyde, to HMS Forth, and it was decided that we would all transfer to a newly built, which was nearing completion, the Trenchant, which was a similar class to the Thrasher, but was later, built later, and so we eventually, about Christmas time, 43, we all found ourselves back in Chatham Barracks and Chatham Naval Dockyard, standing by the completion date of HMS Trenchant. So it very little difference to the Thrasher, because she was the same class. I don't recall anything too different, but while we were there, we could get the dockyard to do a little what we call rabbit jobs, which were not really part of the official build, make things life a little more comfortable for everyone.
So you modified the design as you went.
Yeah, but not to any great. It didn't alter the structure of the boat, but you get things like I had an extra chart table made, and it was it was just one of those things all ships did when they got to a dockyard. So there we were. We were again in a new ship, the Trenchant.
So December 43, right?
That's when we joined her, and she was. We stood by her for about. I think it must have been about a month or so. Eventually, we sailed back to Scotland to work up, as the term is, to make sure everyone is familiar with the duties and the old engines are running as they should, and everyone is happy, and the powers that be are happy that everyone in Trenchant's ship's company knew what they had to do and was fit for patrol. But the fact that we had all transferred from Thrasher, we were pretty well attuned to what we needed to do, and we had a short work-up, and we were told, you're going out to the Far East. And so that was what was to come.
Okay.
And I think it was, what was it? When did we set sail for? About May 44, we are in now, aren't we? Yes. We set sail for the Far East, and we travelled on our own through the Mediterranean, and first stop was Malta. We took on supplies and did what was necessary. And while we were at Malta, this was June, we were there for D-Day, which was 6th of June. So we were able to hear what was going on. But I think we left on about the 7th of June to continue our journey through the Suez Canal to our ultimate destination, excuse me, which was Trincomalee in Ceylon, now known as Sri Lanka. So we left Malta. We've been out at, it was a dangerous area, the Mediterranean. So we did dive day by day and surface at night on our way to Port Said to go through the canal. About the second day out, I was on watch, periscope watch, and I suddenly felt very queer. I suddenly couldn't stand up. I was in agony. The captain realised what was happening. He got a relief for me and sent me to my bunk, took my temperature. It was 105. Hadn't a clue what was wrong, but we put it down to, while we were in Malta for a few days, I picked up sandfly fever or something like that. But it was, my temperature stood at 105 for a couple of days, I think, and I was off duty until we got to Port Said. I hadn't fully recovered, but I was pretty weak. Anyway, we got down to Aden. We stopped off at Aden, which is in Yemen, you know, at the south of the Red Sea. Turn left to go to Ceylon and Aden, and so we were going to be there for about 3 days. So the captain sent me ashore, and I stayed with the harbour master to fully recover. That was delightful. He kept me going with lovely tropical fruit and stuff which I'd never had before, and by the time we were at sea again, I'd recovered, and but it was a bit worrying. The captain, Bordy, was worried because 105 is not a temperature you usually argue with, and but touch wood, it was all right. Well, we arrived in Ceylon, Trincomalee in Ceylon, and our base ship was HMS Adamant, a submarine depot ship, and from there we did 5 patrols in the Malacca Straits. That was between the time of arrival there in where was it? May, June, July, until about April in 44. April 45. We did 5 patrols from there in the Malacca Straits, which is the sea between Malaysia and Sumatra, leading down to Singapore. That was our sort of hunting ground, and it took 4 days to get from Trincomalee to the patrol area, and but par for the course. The first patrol was an air sea rescue patrol, because your American fellows were doing a bombing raid on the oil fields in Palembang, which in the southern part of Sumatra, and in case of a chap having to go down, we were there as standby as air sea rescue, and for that patrol we carried a doctor, which was, as it turned out, was good. No, as far as air sea rescue went, your chaps did well. No one had to ditch, and we carried on a patrol as normal. and we came across a Japanese gunboat escorting some quite large vessel. So we decided we wouldn't waste torpedoes on. She was too small, too difficult a target for torpedoes. So we did a gun action, surfaced and did a gun action, shot them both up, and picked up 14 survivors. We put them in the fore ends in the torpedo stowage compartment, and they were very docile. They didn't need too much. They didn't need a heavy guard, in other words. One was very badly wounded. He's in the leg, and as I say, we had the doctor on board, so he was able to attend to him, but gangrene set in, and I don't know if you ever smelt gangrene, but oh, it's terrible. But this chap was he was in a bad way, very bad way, and the doc, he made sure he had sufficient morphine to deaden the pain. Eventually he died, so we buried him at sea. But that, I can almost smell it now, that smell of gangrene lasted for the next patrol. It was amazing, it hung around. Anyway, we got back, we dumped these chaps as prisoners of war. I don't know what happened to them, but they went off. Second patrol was in August 44. It was the start. Or was it late August, early September? And we carried on board 8 British commandos with their foal boats. They were little collapsible canoes, and they were to blow up a bridge on the north coast of Sumatra. So we embarked these chaps with all their gear, and on the second patrol, the first operation was to land them to do their dirty trick. And also we were to have we were to do lay mines. So we disembarked our 6 spare torpedoes and replaced them with mines, which could be shot through the tubes. So off we set. The commandos, Julie went ashore, blew up the bridge. It was a delayed action explosion, so they embarked, and we laid offshore at daylight, and through the periscope actually witnessed the bridge blowing up. So we knew it was a success. It was a bridge. It was a main bridge of the roadway which the Japanese were using, and so it was a good job.
Did you interact with the commandos at all? Could you tell us a little bit about their nature?
Oh, they're great fellas. There were 2 officers and 6 troops, and they're great fun. And what more can you say? They were
good at what they did.
They were good at what they did. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. As it transpired, it was good that we had them on board, because anyway, they did their job, and we went off to another area to lay our mines off a port in Sumatra, on the east side of Sumatra. Julie laid them, and then set off on normal patrol to pick up what we could and shoot up, or if we saw anything. Well, about September the 21st, something like that date, we got word that a German submarine was approaching Penang, which is in Malaysia, and we should be on the lookout for it. Now, by this time, you know, Enigma had been, we got Enigma and we could decode signals, German signals. So
now Enigma was broken at Bletchley Park, I believe.
Yeah,
it was, which was a
Bletchley
British.
Park, yeah, well, we captured. I think it was the Bulldog, sank a German U-boat, and before she sank, sent chaps aboard, and lo and behold, there was an Enigma machine which they brought back. You fellas made a film as though it was you did it, but it wasn't quite. But you did show appreciation at the end of the film that was based on our efforts. Anyway, digress. Yeah, so we knew it was coming, but where? So we had to box clever and think now, where would she come, and sort of plot an imaginary course and hope we'd be somewhere near. And sure enough, on the 23rd of September, we espied U-859 on the surface. This was daylight. U-859 on the surface. We were dived, and we got into an attacking position. We found that we couldn't fire our forward torpedo tubes because we were too close to the track, and they'd either go under or they wouldn't explode. So we did a quick reverse so that our 3 external torpedoes would be operational, and that's what we fired. We fired three, and
there were 3 forward ones, or 3?
The 3 astern.
Stern ones. Okay.
Stern ones, and
they had different range or capacity.
No,
just
all same as the ordinary ones.
So you were just trying to back off a little bit before you fired them?
Well, if we did a reverse, we'd be sufficiently far away for the torpedoes to arm and get to the depth they were set.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we were too close, they'd probably go under, and they wouldn't have time to set, because the detonator has to join up with the explosive. You see, so we fired the 3, and we got 1 hit amidships, and before the torpedoes hit board, he ordered gun action. In the event that our torpedoes weren't effective, we would finish her off by gun action. But as it happened, the torpedo hit, and we were on the surface to pick up survivors. And as it transpired, there were 19 survivors, and we picked up 11. We'd have picked up them all had there been time, but we espied a ship coming out of a rain cloud on the horizon. Obviously, it must have been a Japanese ship. As it was, it turned out to be one. So we dived in a hurry, but we managed to get 11 on board. 1 officer, a chap called Horst Klatt, who was the second engineer officer, and 10 ratings. So we got them on board. And
what was your role again during the attack? What was your role?
I was the navigator. I was on the attack team.
Okay, so you were part of the calculation team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had these chaps on board, and of course we had the commandos, so they could keep.
They guarded
the chaps. We stuck them all in the fore ends again, where the Japanese had been in the first patrol. But they were good. They were
good prisoners.
They were good prisoners. They were only too happy that
they're not in the drink.
They weren't in the drink. They were about an hour from their destination, having been at sea for 5. In fact, they left. Where did they leave from? Hamburg. about the same time that we left England to go to the Far East.
Now that U-boat was a rather large U-boat,
Yes,
correct?
She was a Type
Type 9?
9, yes, yeah.
Type 9.
Yeah.
To give you a couple facts, 287 feet long,
Yeah.
24 feet, 7-inch beam,
Yeah.
power 8,880 bhp diesels, could travel at 20 knots on the surface and about 7 underwater.
They were faster than we were.
Yeah, it was one of their bigger class
Yes,
units.
and they were known as the. Very few people, even in Germany, knew about it, but there was a special fleet of U-boats known as the Monsoon
class.
who were giving supplies to Japan.
Now it says here that the vessel was carrying 31 tons of mercury in metal flasks destined for Japanese munitions industry.
Right.
And uranium oxide, also destined for Japan.
Yeah.
So it seems to be quite a strategic strike on and.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The mercury was carried in the keel of the boat, actually. As I understood it.
And eventually in 1972, 12 tons of mercury were actually recovered from the wreckage.
Yes, yes. Of course, we at the time of the sinking, we had no idea what was being carried. But Horst Klart, the engineer officer, he lived with us in the wardroom. Very amiable fellow. He was only too happy, of course.
And there was a decorum, there was a respect officer to officer, correct?
Yeah. And he was very lucky because they were within about an hour of arriving at Penang. And he had a touch of the diarrhea, and he had to go to the head. And in that German U-boat, they only had one head for the whole ship's company, which was up forward. So he was up there forward, sitting on the throne when we hit him. So he was the only officer saved.
Interesting.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
We became friends after, he and I.
After the war? Interesting.
Yeah, so we got them on board, and we were a bit overcrowded then because we had 8 pongos. Oh, sorry, that's the slang name for army. Pongos.
Pongo, okay.
And the 11 from U859. So we were a little overcrowded, and so we were ordered back to base back to Trincomalee. And we eventually got back, and before we left, we all got friendly with Horst Klart. He lived with us in the wardroom, and I gave him a handkerchief, I think. That's right, I gave him a handkerchief. It had my name on it. Thought nothing more about it. Until 1954, I was in Hong Kong, still in the service, and I got a letter from him. But that's another story. But
well, you can tell that now or later, whatever wherever it fits. We're talking about him now, so.
Yeah. Well, he had been. He joined He was out of the German Navy, and he was joined a company called, I think it was Horst, something like that, who made cement equipment, plant for making cement. And he was going out to Japan to start up one of the plants his company had built, and he was going to do the startup. And he was coming, and I was in Hong Kong, and he I have to think a bit. He got hold of me. Somehow, through the handkerchief name, he traced me after all these years. He must have found I was out in Hong Kong somehow or other. Oh, I think he must have got news from the Admiralty who run the British Navy that I was there. Anyway, he told me he was coming out to Hong Kong on his way to Japan to start up one of his cement plants. So I went over to Hong Kong airport to meet him. I couldn't get onto the airport because he was only there for about 40-minute stopover. But I met him one side of the wire netting. I hadn't seen him since 1944. And he said, I'm coming back to Hong Kong when I finish the start-up of this cement plant. And we'll meet then. I'll let you know. So eventually, some months later, he got word he was coming back. So I was able to entertain him and stayed at I was living on Hong Kong tour. I was living up on the Peak in a naval apartment, and had him there entertained him for dinner while he on his way back to Germany.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I subsequently met him again after I was out of the Navy in Dusseldorf, where he was living, and he entertained me. I met his family. And I'm in touch with his daughter now. We're on Skype. So
has he passed?
Yeah, he died. Yes, about 15 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, but I was glad when I met him in Dusseldorf, where he lived here. We had a really good run ashore. I don't know if you've been to Dusseldorf, but they've got some most marvellous pubs there. We had a good run ashore there. Yeah, he was a good chap, and we communicated. But now I'm in touch with his daughter, and she's great fun.
Is she in Dusseldorf?
She close by, near in that area, and she's coming over there. She said she'd probably be over here. I think goes to Canada, so we're very close to the border. So I'm sure we'll meet up eventually. But she'll have to hurry. I mean, I'm not a chicken any longer. Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm digressing. So where were we?
Okay, so you just finished the attack on the
yes, well,
U-boat.
Yeah, we and we had the chaps on board, and we got them back to Trincomalee. And I sent him off with his handkerchief, which had my name on it. That's how he found me way back when I was in Hong Kong in 1953. That's how we led up to the other end. Anyway, so we had our time in between patrols, and set off again for our third patrol. This time we carried two chariots, as they were called. These were, the nickname was human torpedoes, because the crew rode astride of a torpedo, in other words, and deposited the head of the explosive head of the torpedo by magnetic means to the hull of a ship, and then quietly departed and wait for it to blow up.
Was this a surface vessel, or did it go
No,
underwater?
they dived.
So it went underwater, and they
they could-
discreetly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, on third patrol, we carried two of them. There was two to a chariot. There was one officer and his chum, and a petty officer and his mate. And that went off well. We took them in, and we were about to hope to get what was left of the torpedo, the chariot, back on board, but our chap on the Aztecs, the sonar, heard ship approaching, so we had to dive, had to leave the chariots.
Were you able to recover the men?
No, they sank.
So the men. And
Oh,
the
we
chariot-
got the men back.
Got the men.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yes, yeah. But the chariots were lost, I'm afraid. There were always attempts to. There were talk of attempts to recover, but to the best of my knowledge, they weren't. This was after the war, because I have a friend out there in the very place where the attack took place. They went in and sank two ships, which were undergoing repairs.
So they were successful in their mission.
In Phuket Harbour, yeah.
Okay.
So we got them back, and that was getting near my birthday. Yes, in fact, on my birthday, the 9th of November, we made an attack on a small Japanese convoy without success, at least without known success, shall we say, but we got depth charged, so I haven't forgotten that because it was my birthday.
Tell us about your thoughts during a depth charge incident. What goes on? What are you thinking about?
It's strange, you know. People look up. I should say.
Just your natural tendency? As if you could
tendency.
see through the steel hull?
Well, bits of the insulation used to drop, and but it's strange. Everyone looked up, so you could see them. Imagine you could see them, but that was a little exciting. Fortunately, that was the only depth charge attack I ever had to endure. So, oh yes, we were. That was about it for that patrol. Yes, we're going. I'm losing track. We're on our third patrol, so we. Nothing. Oh, we had the occasional gun action because some of these sailing craft, dhows and things, weren't. I mean, you used to trying a torpedo.
So did you sink a number of smaller vessels
Oh
by
yes,
gun action?
yeah. We were doing a lot of gun action, and
Japanese, German, what were or mixed?
well, they were used by the Japanese to carry cargo between Sumatra and Malaysia. So we got quite a few, as you'll see on our Jolly Roger.
Are you in 44 or 45 at this point?
We're in 40. We're 44.
Okay, so you're still in 1944.
Yeah, 44.
Okay.
You know. And we did another patrol in 44, fourth patrol. That wasn't a very exciting one. It was nothing. We shot up quite a few odd junks and things which were carrying cargo. And the fifth patrol was similar. We carried we carried a doctor. Oh, my commanding officer, Bordy Hazard, when I joined him, he'd been a lieutenant, and then he became a lieutenant commander, and then he got accelerated promotion to commander. So with a commander's rank, you were entitled to the luxury of a doctor and a yeoman of signals, whereas before that we just had a leading signalman. Mm-hmm. So we had this, we had a yeoman of signals and a leading signalman, kept the same one, the old chaps kept him too. And we had this doctor on patrol. This patrol, we went out in company with a fellow T class, but we were the senior officer. Bordy was the commander. And the other, Terrapin was the name of the other. I was in Trenchant. They'd had a gun action, and one of their gunnery crew had been wounded. So they asked us could we send the doctor over? So we and the other submarine, Terrapin, had picked up some American, how would you term them? They'd been stuck on an island. Do you ever see the play South Pacific? Mm-hmm. The American who was on an island as a sightseer. Well, one of these chaps was similar to the chap in South Pacific, mm-hmm. And George S. Seabury. So we swapped doctor for George S. Seabury. He came aboard for the last days of our patrol. Lovely fellow, mm-hmm. 6'4", I suppose, enormous chap.
You fit in a submarine?
He came on board and in exchange for the doctor.
And where'd the doctor go?
He went to the Terrapin to look after the wounded fellow. And well, after I think about a week or so, we got back to Trincomalee, and well, we thought we were going back to Trincomalee. Oh, and I should explain that at the end of our fourth patrol, when we got back, it was a pretty uneventful patrol, but when we got back to patrol, my first action as communications officer was to go up to the signals office to see if there were any signals, secret signals, which were deemed unnecessary to worry us on patrol, but were necessary when we got back to harbour. So that was my first port of call, to go up to the signals office to pick up any signals such as those. And there was a wren handing out signals.
And tell us what a wren was.
A wren is comparable to a wave.
So a female...
Female Women's Royal Naval Service, known as a wren.
Okay.
And this lady was a girl called Betty Glass, as it transpired, who eventually became my wife.
Oh, so that's where you met her.
Yeah. And I lost her just about 9 years ago. There's a picture of her there.
We'll be sure to include that.
Mm. So, yeah, I had a couple of... met her ashore, played tennis, and had a run ashore to the local nightclub, and expecting when we got back from our next patrol, the fifth patrol, take up again. And well, when we on our way back to Trincomalee, we discovered we had problems with our propeller shafts. So it was decided that instead of going to Trincomalee, we'd go around to the other side of the island to Colombo, where was a dockyard who could deal with our propeller shaft problems. So that was a disappointment.
I guess so.
And while we were at Colombo, we disembarked to George Seabury, the American. He was a Marine, American Marine. Nice fella. He was a nice fella. And we went into dry dock to deal with our shafts. And while we were there, it was decided that we would be sent to join up with the American Pacific Fleet to make up numbers of the submarine fleet, and we were going to be based on Fremantle in Western Australia. So we went straight from Ceylon without going back to Trincomalee so I didn't see Betty until 18 months later.
And she obviously waited.
She was still a Wren, and by good luck she was based in Portsmouth, where I joined a ship after the war. So
okay.
Anyway, we got to Western Australia and joined up with our depot ship Adamant had also, from Trincomalee, had also gone down there, so we were back to home, as it were.
And a depot ship was used to a sub-tender, basically, or?
Yeah, she could do anything. Workshop, carried spare torpedoes, ammunition, hospital, the lot. Yeah, they had.
And that was a surface vessel?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Adamant, the name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was the name of it again?
Adamant.
Adamant.
Okay. Adamant. Yeah. I think we arrived there. Must have been about May 45. And before we knew it, we were off on patrol to the South China Sea.
Now, May of 45, for adding context, the war in Europe ended on May 8th, 1945.
Right. Yeah.
The Germans surrendered.
Yeah, it didn't affect us. So
you were now fighting the war in the Pacific.
Yeah, right. There was still the Japanese to contend with.
Yeah.
So there we set off on patrol. When was it? Must have been late May to do what we had to do. It's about a 4-day journey from Perth in Western Australia, way up to the Lombok Straits, and into the the Flores Sea, and up to the South China Sea. We were on our own. We had a bit of gun action on the way, as I recall. Surface ships, no torpedo jobs, and then we were somewhere off the Isle of Banker. We were under the command of the American submarine commander, Admiral James Fife, Jr., and we got word that a Japanese heavy cruiser was on its way north to Singapore. We decided that we would place ourselves we hoped in the right position. At the same time, we made contact with one of our own, the Stratagem, an S-class, smaller submarine. We were seeing his ship, so we made contact with him, and at the dead of night, we told him what we were going to do, and made plans that he would be in such a position and we would be in such a position, and there was a minefield between us. So we placed ourselves on the left-hand side of the minefield at the head of the Malacca Straits, where we thought the cruiser was coming up, and the stratagem placed herself on the other side. And sure enough, we placed ourselves in the right position. And the night before the attack on June the 8th, in the early hours of the morning, we were on the surface charging our batteries, of course. We met up with a Japanese destroyer.
The Kamikaze?
Kamikaze, yeah. And we managed to dodge it, but still stay on the surface, because it was essential that we'd have fully charged batteries. So we dodged him, and then at daylight we dived in the hopes that the destroyer was the eyepiece for the cruiser which was following, and it was. And sure enough, along comes the Ashigara, as it turned out, and we got into a firing position, fired all our excuse me, all our 8 forward tubes. That's the 6 internal, 2 external. Fired all 8 and got 5 hits.
Mm-hmm.
And
just to add a little color, it's estimated the range was roughly 4,000 yards, which is about the limit.
No,
at that point?
it could have gone on more. But that was a good limit, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're sure we got the hits, and we were able to observe her sinking. In fact, we were lining up at the periscope to
get a look,
have a glimpse, and she was going down by we got her on the starboard side, and she was going down, listing to starboard, and on fire. She was very much on fire forward.
We'll add a little more color here. It said the losses were heavy. Out of 1,600 troops, only 400 were saved.
Mm-hmm.
HMS Trenchant flew the Jolly Roger as a tribute to her success when she reached her base at Trincomalee. Tactically, it was one of the most brilliant submarine attacks of the war in terms of range.
Mm-hmm. It was, I suppose you call it a textbook submarine attack, torpedo attack.
Or for 5 out of the 8 to hit was quite good aiming.
And as it transpired, it was the biggest enemy ship of either nation, Germany or Japan, sunk by a British submarine. Your fellows had bigger targets in the Pacific, aircraft carriers and things like that, but for us, I mean, the German ships were the big ships were few and far between when they went to sea.
Now, it looks like you attracted the attention of the Kamikaze at some point. It says the Kamikaze dropped 3 patterns of depth charges.
Yeah, well, what happened? We saw. We turned about quickly to make our way out, but we saw that the Ashigara. It was pretty certain she was sinking, but we thought for good measure we'd fire a torpedo tube. Of course, the 3 external torpedoes were still there. We fired without success, and that caused one of the Kamikaze destroyers to see that there was a torpedo trail
right back to you.
So we got a little bit, but it was nothing like the torpedo, the depth charge attack we had on my birthday on the 25th of November.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Quite an accomplishment. It was. So
so we set off. We separated. We made contact with the stratagem, who was attacked by the initial kamikaze destroyer we saw on the previous night, and they thought that there was only one submarine, and that was the stratagem. So she had an attack, depth charge attack, which was meant for us.
How did she do? Did she get
She
away?
was all right. She was all right. Yeah. And so we both. We must have made contact with Stratton again, and we went our separate ways. And we were about to set off on the remainder of our patrol when we got a signal from Subic Bay in the Philippines from Admiral Fife to make our way to Subic Bay. And so off we trotted to Subic Bay. In the en route we espied a beautiful, I think, 10,000 ton tanker with an escort following the 10-fathom line, I think, up the coast of Malaysia. It was tempting to attack with what remaining stern torpedoes we had, but it was too dicey because shallow water and a big escort. So discretion being the better part of valor, we made our way to Subic Bay at the beck and call of Admiral Fife, and there we arrived, and one of our depot ships, the Maidstone, had already made her way there. She'd come out from England after the Adamant and did a short time in Trincomalee, and then went to Australia first, and then to Subic Bay, and where we berthed alongside. And a couple of days later, there was a big ceremony. Bordy Heslett was awarded the the highest honour the Americans can give to a foreign officer, the Legion of Merit degree commander. So it was a big ceremony.
This is a good point to tell us a little bit about Hazlett's personality. What kind of man was he? What were your thoughts?
A fairly quiet man. He knew what he was doing. Very incisive. He stood no nonsense, but he was good company. A chap you had complete faith in.
A good leader. Yeah. Did you have any contact with him after the war?
Oh yes, yeah. He died in 2008. About 10 years ago, and I'm in touch with his wife, Lady Heslett, Patricia and Bob these days, and I've stayed with her actually over in Ireland, and yeah, she's a little younger than I am, but she's just taken onto the old internet, so she's getting the hang of emails, so we're.
That's great.
Yeah, and I'm on the telephone to her at least once a month. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, but he was a first class. He was considered the probably most brilliant submarine captain of World War II by his peers.
Obviously, by your reaction, quite loved by his men. The greatest compliment you could pay a commander, really. Yeah. Okay.
When he wrote the book,
hold the book up for the camera here, right near your face.
He wrote the book in about about 2000, sort of 50
So he
years
waited
after
a
the
while.
event. But I had an immense number of records of all the patrols, because at the end of each patrol he had to write a report, and there was never enough room in the ship's log, so I kept a separate one. Shouldn't have done, but I did. It's rather like a diary, in other words, which you weren't supposed to do. And so I had that, and
So that was great research for him.
oh, great! It had all the positions and times and things. So he was, and he acknowledges it in his great gratitude.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments on Ashigara or Hazlitt before we take a little break here?
Not really. I know that after the war, Baldy met one of the survivors of the Ashigara. She was carrying, what was it, about 1,200 army as on
Troops.
passage from wherever to Singapore. So they were on board, and he met a chap who'd been a major on board, and they met in London. Baldy took him to lunch, I think, and yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So, yeah, that was good. So, we finished that. Eventually, left Subic Bay, did our 7th patrol via the Celebes Island, and shot up a few things. No torpedoing, and eventually got back to Australia, and we were getting set for our 8th patrol, and then VJ came, so we were free and easy after 6 years.
So August 1945,
Yeah.
that's about where we are. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk a little bit about the your post-war activities, and curious through that section of your life.
Yeah. Well, so having, as I say, we got back to Australia, and preparing for our 8th patrol, we thought it was going to be, and in a way, I'm glad war finished then, because when we got back from the 7th, Baldy Hazlitt was appointed to the Admiralty, which is the in the British Navy, it's the headquarters of the Royal Navy, known as the Admiralty in those days. Now it's a Ministry of Defence Navy, which doesn't sound
very British anymore.
No, miserable name. Which was sad, because it meant I'd been with him since early '43, and we were a good ship's company. We knew what we were doing. We'd have a new commanding officer. We'd have to train him, sort of thing. and you have faith in a chap as a commanding officer, and we didn't know what he was like. I knew him by name, and I'd met him before, a chap named John Ogle, very nice, awfully nice fellow, but you never know. And so, as I say, it was VJ Day came along, so all was well. We said goodbye to Baldy Hazlitt, and we gave him we contributed together. We had a big party ashore in Perth, Western Australia. We presented him with a wristwatch, an Omega, was it? No, a Rolex, right, which I have now, because when he died, his wife, Lady Hazlitt, offered it to the Submarine Museum, and at the time they weren't taking any more bits and pieces, so she said, I feel it should go to someone who was closely associated with him. So I've got it. I don't use it, but
What a great compliment.
it's there, yeah. So that's by the side. Anyway, he left to go home, and UCO was a chap called John Ogle, very nice fellow. He'd been CO in submarines in the Mediterranean, so he wasn't a makey learn. He knew his stuff. But as it transpired, he was the CO to see us home eventually. Well, we stayed in Australia for must be a good 6 weeks or so, just enjoying the fact that no more war and sort of living it up, as you might imagine. Living on. I mean, Australia had all the goodies. You know, they weren't short of. They weren't rationed, and we got to like rum and milk. That was a big thing, and we'd go to parties ashore, and sort of about 2 o'clock in the morning stop off and have a breakfast and a rum and milk, and that was the life. Great. Well, eventually it was decided that we would make our way home from Australia. Now, John Ogle, he thought it'd be a good idea. He said to Peter Cullen, who was the gunnery officer and torpedo officer, me, the navigator, he said, I think you should change jobs. So I became the gunnery and torpedo officer, and Peter Cullen, my chum, was the navigator. Well, for me, that was a piece of cake because, I mean, the war was over. Lovely. I mean, you had to do routine maintenance on torpedoes and the guns to a degree, but wasn't quite like wartime. So we set off home for UK, and we stopped off. I think the first port of call was Aden. That's right, where we called in on the way out to the Far East, and had a couple of days there. Then to Portside, where it was my old hunting ground. I knew the ropes there. And on the way up through the Red Sea, we got a signal from the Admiralty, which gave note that several awards for gallantry had been awarded. Bawdy Heslett had been awarded a bar to his Distinguished Service Order. He got his first one when we sank the U-859. He was awarded a bar to the DSO for the sinking of the Ashigara. Everyone said, apparently, I didn't know this, but later I gathered, everyone said he should have got the Victoria Cross for that, because that's our highest highest award, because that, I suppose it really was a pretty gallant action, come to think of it. But anyway, and my award for the Distinguished Service Cross was there on the note, on the signal. Peter Cullen got his DSC too, and Mike Chambers, our engineer officer, and the first lieutenant. So it was considered quite an epic attack and solution to an attack. So when we got to Portside, having been there before, I knew a place where we could get our medal ribbons made up to show our new awards. So I took the boys along to the shop, and sure enough, we got our medal ribbon, the bar, not the actual medal, because that had to come from higher authority. But we got our medal ribbons made up, and we had a few days there, and I met old friends I'd met when I was out there in 42. I was a member of the sports club there. I had some.
And where are you now?
Portside, on the way.
In what country?
Egypt.
Egypt. Okay.
Yeah, it's the north end of the Suez Canal.
Right.
And so we we eventually set off, and we stopped off in Malta on the way for a few days, just to replenish stores and perhaps do other. Oh, no! On the way, after leaving Port Said to go to Malta, we had an engine problem. One of the auxiliary pieces of machinery which were essential, because they fed all the it fed the lubrication system for engines and all the bits and pieces. So they sent us into Alexandra Dockyard to await a piece to be flown out from England to be put in. So while in Alexandra Dockyard, which as it transpired was a 3-week stay, we got the boat scraped and painted, and we all lived ashore. We had a run ashore every day. We took in passage the chap who'd been Commander SM in Adamant, and he was a very keen coffee drinker, and he would take us to various coffee joints in Alexandria to sample all the best coffees, which I and of course we went to, 3 weeks there. We met up with many English people and played golf, went to the racetrack. Yeah, it was great fun. And I say, speaking as an officer, but our troops had, our crew had equally as good fun too. So it wasn't all us. Well, after 3 weeks, it was decided we were fit to go, and we stopped off at Malta on the way back, and had about 3 or 4 days there, and then we stopped off at Gibraltar as the last port of call before getting to UK, and we arrived in UK somewhere just before Christmas to go off on Christmas leave. When we arrived at Gosport, at Dolphin, the home of submarines, Baldy Heslett took time from his desk at the Admiralty to come down to meet us, which was good. Yeah, so we stayed there for a few days and sent on leave, and I knew that I would be going back to general service, because it was essential that the submarines would be manned by regular Royal Navy personnel. Now, I was Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve, so all the volunteer reserve officers were sent back to general service.
Okay, so
whether you liked it or not. I would like to have stayed in the submarine service, but so I went back home, and then while I was home, I got news that I was going to be appointed as executive officer of a sloop, which was at present in reserve up in Hartlepool, which is northeast England near Newcastle, and I'd be taking over as first lieutenant. So, having had my Christmas leave, I go up there and take over as second in command, and we complete our refit and sent down to Portsmouth, into the dockyard.
What was the name of the vessel?
Fleetwood.
Okay.
Yeah. She was a sloop, rather a small type of destroyer, for want of a better description. And we eventually arrive at Portsmouth, and while I was on leave, I was able to meet up with Betty, my wife-to-be, as it were. It turned out we had a few nights in London, and by good chance, she lived only by train about 20 minutes from where I did. So that made life a bit easier.
So this time you didn't let her get away.
Didn't let her get away. and when I got to Portsmouth in Fleetwood, she was still in the Wrens, and she'd been appointed to the Royal Marines in their camp, in their base in Southsea, which is next door to Portsmouth. So it was a piece of cake, you know.
It was meant to be.
Yeah. We became engaged and we married on May the 10th, 1947. Yeah. It worked out well. And she'd just left the Wrens about a year before we were married, and she was in the cabinet offices of the Prime Minister for a while, and when she married, she gave up that job and became a Navy wife. In the meantime, I was they asked me if I'd like an extended commission as a Royal Naval Officer, which I accepted. So
does that mean you moved out of the reserves into the regular?
Regular Navy.
Okay.
It's where instead of wearing a wavy stripe, I wore a straight stripe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And same vessel, or did they give you a new vessel?
No,
at
I
that
was
point?
still in. I was in Fleetwood then,
Okay.
and I stayed in Fleetwood till 1948. She became a. When we got to Portsmouth Dockyard, they took out all the armament, all the guns, everything, depth charges, the lot, and became put in new masts and became a radio and radar trial ship. So the mast could be fitted with all sorts of arrays and one thing or another. Mm-hmm. And our job was to demonstrate a newly designed radar set, which it was designed for the Navy, but the Admiralty considered it would be ideal for merchant Navy too. So we installed this newfangled radar. Instead of having a sort of straight line screen, had a circular screen which showed up coastline, ships and all that says. Whereas before it was just I suppose, what do you call it, a digital, I suppose. It's not the right word, but all you got was streaks of line like that, which gave you a distance and a
Direction.
height.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
But this gave you, I mean, this is good for navigation.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to do sort of daily runs with representatives of merchant Navy ships and foreign and British, take them out to sea and out of Portsmouth and show them the marvels of modern day radar. And we did a trip to Norway, and we did various trips to. We did a trip around the British Isles to show the efficiency of it, and also in those days there was another what was it called? Another means of helping navigation. There was a shore station in Norway which beamed a signal, and from that signal you could get some determination of your position. But the radar system we had was much better, of course. Mm-hmm. So we did a trip around the British Isles, went to France, and the 2 years went very quickly. And in the meantime, we married, and I still remained in the ship. Betty came to live with me in Portsmouth, and I lived ashore, but had to get back to the ship every day. And then I had a signal saying I was being appointed. After about 2 years, I was being appointed to a frigate in the Mediterranean, the Whitesand Bay. So off I tootled to the Mediterranean. In those days, wives did not accompany husbands. It was goodbye for 2 years sort of thing. Not accepted now, and certainly isn't that way. So off I go to the Mediterranean to join the Whitesand Bay, the part of the Mediterranean fleet, and Betty came out to. We were based on Malta. And Betty came out for 10 days while we were there, which was very nice. But I didn't expect it, but she did, and then about August we were told we were going to be part of the American and West Indies squadron based on Bermuda. Well, that sounded very good. And wives were allowed to go. So off we go to Bermuda. And it must have been about October 1947. No, 48. And with the arrangement that Betty would come out, we were sent off on some special trials down in the Caribbean, and we would be away for some months. And I hope by the time we got back in the new year of 49, Betty would be there in Bermuda, and she was. So I got back and she was there. We had a place in Hamilton. And she got a job in Trimmingham. Do you know Bermuda at all? Trimmingham is the Maces of Bermuda, and she got a job there. And the routine there was 3 months in harbour, 3 months at sea, showing the flag, and we were bound to go to. We were going to do a flag waving cruise from. Starting off in Florida. What's the farthest point on the Florida?
The Keys.
Keys, yeah. And work our way up Wilmington, and we were eventually going to Albany, going up the Hudson River to Albany, and we're all getting set for that. Jolly nice, and then April. Out in the Far East, one of our frigates, the Amethyst, got shot up on the Yangtze River by the Chinese communists. She was very badly shot up, eventually made an escape, but as a ship she was out. She had to go back to England. So they needed a ship of her similar class to make up the number in the Far East fleet. So we were the junior ship in Bermuda, of the American West Indies fleet. So we were detailed to go to Hong Kong. So Betty and I had about 2 months together in Bermuda, and off we go to Hong Kong, and I was there till 1950 before we met up again.
Now in the middle there, I believe you had special duties regarding the Olympic.
Oh yes, before we left the Mediterranean, we were detailed to carry the American the Olympic flame. 1948, the Olympics were in London, so because the flame starts off at Olympus in Greece, and we picked up the flame in Corfu. And transported it to Bari. We had
Bari, Italy.
To Bari in Italy, right? We picked up the flame, and to ensure that the flame never went out, the chief shut down one of his boilers, then flashed up again, using the flame. So.
I see. So that technically that was the same flame.
But on deck, they gave us a special
enclosure,
flame closure, yes, which was the flame too. But so if that went out, we knew we could get the flame back from the boiler. But the flame stayed all right. It was only an overnight passage from Corfu to Bari anyway, and. Sacrilege. The middle watchmen. They were cooking bangers, sausages.
On the flame?
Anyway, that's beside the point. We got to Bari and sent it ashore. We had an English runner who took the flame to hand over to an Italian runner, and off they set all the way up through Europe to England, and following it all the way was a brand new Rolls-Royce equipped with a burner inside.
Just in case.
Just in case. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. So that was quite an event. So we anyway, go back to Bermuda. We get to Hong Kong. From Bermuda to Hong Kong, stop off in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor. Had 4 days there, which was great. It was quite an experience there, because this was before there were still the wrecks there in a big way. It's not like it is now. Not that I've been back since, but everything is all tidy and very much a memorial. Have you been there? I don't know, but
no.
And eventually we arrive in Hong Kong, and there we were based, and started off doing guard duties off the mouth of the Yangtze River to prevent. This is straight. You'd think it would be stop the communists, but no, it was to stop ships who were trading with communist China from being molested by Chiang Kai-shek's Chinese, the good boys who now live in Taiwan. So we were there on guard in case that happened, but it never happened, and but it was just sort of sitting there at anchor, wallowing around in the waves and hoping nothing happened, and it didn't. So we did that several times, and did the trip, did a passage down to Singapore to do guard. There was in those days Malaysia was infested with the Reds, and so we did a few patrols there on sort of red guard duty, as it were, or to guard from the Reds. Yeah.
The Reds being the communists.
Yeah, the communists. Yeah. Right. Then we went over to Sarawak, which is in Borneo. Just previous, this was about January 50, and the British resident in Cebu, which is the head city, the chief city of Sarawak, had been assassinated, and we went there to show the flag, and we landed our sailors to do a march through town, and with fixed bayonets, all that sort of thing, to show force, and had a few days there, which was quite fun. And back to Singapore, I think, and then Hong Kong, and I think events. Yes, then the Korean War started in, what was it, June
50,
and we were sent up there to join the Allied forces, and we did our stint of convoy duties from Sasebo in Japan to Busan in South Korea.
Now, did you about now received a promotion?
In July the 1st, I received my promotion to Lieutenant Commander, and at the same time, I got note that I was to be relieved, because I'd spent 2 years, which is the normal commission time aboard, so I was due to be relieved. And in fact, I met my relief in Hong Kong, and then within 2 days, I was told no, we had to go back to England, so I stayed put went up to in the ship to Korea, did our convoy duties, and then we were just about to set off to Korea to do another convoy duty, and we were storing ship actually in Sasebo, and we got a signal saying, drop everything, proceed to Kure, or was it Kobe? Was it on the inland sea of Japan? That was Kure, I think, and embark 20 U.S. Rangers. So off we shoot to. I'm sure it was Kure. Or picked them up. I have to check on that. Picked them up and set sail for Sasebo. It was very awkward because, as I say, we had to break off from storing ship, and one of the items we were short of was toilet paper. So, what with our own ship's company and 20 more bods coming on board, it was essential that we had replenished our supply of toilet paper, or bumf as we call it. So we waylaid an American store ship, as it happened, and we got from them a goodly supply of bumf. So
you're good to go.
Good to go. And and it wasn't the toilet paper we were used to in the Navy, which sort of square sheet, polished one side and rough the other. This was real toilet paper.
On a roll.
Real roll toilet. Yeah. Quite unusual.
The American stuff.
Oh, good American stuff. I mean, you chaps do yourself well. So we have this stuff on board, and we go off, and before we know where we are, we're told to proceed up to the west coast of Korea to a place called Kunsan, and there we were to do a diversionary raid using the American Rangers. They had their blow up
the Zodiac blow up vessels.
Yeah. No, these blow up
rafts.
Rafts. That's it. I couldn't think of it. And we landed. They did their diversionary raid. Unfortunately, they lost one officer. I can't make it out. They left him ashore, which is unusual, I thought. But anyway, he left him ashore, and on the way back, a sergeant was shot in the back, and he died on board, so we had to bury him at sea. But as a diversionary raid, it was good because we had to fire star shell and things like that just to give the impression there was something big going to happen. And then this was probably a couple of days before the actual landing in Incheon, so then we were sent up to Incheon, and from there we did patrol duties just to ensure there was no North Korean effort by sea anyway to do us no good.
Right. So of course you're now in your second war.
I'm on the second war, yes, and quite unexpected, and I suppose it was a fairly easy war in a way, but you never knew what was going to happen.
Sure.
And then, by good chance, we got a signal saying that I was to be relieved by an officer from one of our own ships, a similar class frigate. In fact, from my senior officer's frigate, he was going to relieve me as executive officer. And so it happened. We steamed alongside, rigged a jackstay, and he came over by jackstay, the boatswain's chair thing, and spent a couple of days handing over, and then we had to refuel, so we went alongside a fueling ship, dumped me with all my bits and pieces and said goodbye to Whitesand Bay. Little did I know I was meet up with her again, but I did. Anyway, I stayed aboard this, it was a Royal Navy transport store ship, and I stayed on board for a couple of days, waiting passage to get back to Sasebo for onward route to UK. While I was on board, a friend, one of our destroyers came alongside, and on board was a chap who I knew in submarines. He was the first lieutenant. So we got chummy, and I was having a drink in the wardroom, and their signal reported an American destroyer was approaching, and American destroyer, ask him where he's going to Japan, Sasebo. Have they room for one naval officer, British naval officer? Yes. So
there you
they
go.
loaded me aboard. I can't remember the name of the destroyer, but anyway, I had a night's passage back to Sasebo in her. Great, very good.
Yeah.
When I got to Sasebo, I was appointed to a British cruiser, the Jamaica, which had been in Hong Kong with us. So we were chummy ships. I knew everyone on board. And I was pointed to her for passage from Sasebo to Hong Kong to await passage back to UK. So I eventually got back to Hong Kong, and then joined the British aircraft carrier, the Ocean, which was being used for troop duties and stores duties, not non-operational, purely as a accommodation ship, as you say. And I was appointed to her for watchkeeping duties back to UK, which is what happened, and which is rather strange. I never served in a carrier before. Be on one side of the ship, and very great fun though. Eventually got back to UK. What was it? Late 1950, and waited my next appointment, which became. I was appointed to Naval Intelligence Division, and I had a shore job at a joint services establishment, Royal Air Force Newnham Park, which was and to do the course for photographic interpretation, which is a thing I didn't expect. I didn't really look forward to it, but anyway, it was good fun, and of course it was a shore job, and this was in Oxfordshire, quite close to Oxford. So of course Betty, we had a shore. We didn't have shore. We had to find our own accommodation, but we were living together as man and wife, as it were, and did that for a couple of years, which was good. And some friends from Hong Kong who I knew very well, the Director of Marine in Hong Kong and his wife, they came to stay with us while we were there. So the whole thing worked out extremely well one way and another. You know, it's the Navy is a good thing. You meet a lot of people, and you know, things always work out well. Anyway, I did my 2 years there, and then my lords decided that I'd had enough there and I should go have a sea job. So they said I was going to go to Hong Kong, which suited me fine. Hong Kong is a wonderful place to serve in. It's you have to be there to know and love it. Different now, but but then, before the handover in '97, it was...
At that time, it was a British
lovely, well, a colony, yeah.
colony.
Yeah, and great place. So they said, you're going out to for minesweepers in Hong Kong. So I did a short minesweeping course and set sail for Hong Kong in the troop ship Asturias, which was a fast... She was 23 knotter. Took only 3 weeks to get out there, and which of course Betty accompanied me, so we were just the two of us. Great ship to be in, and got to stopped off at Singapore. Met friends I met when I was in Oxfordshire, who were in the RAF, because, as I say, joint services, it was a RAF controlled, but there were Army people there and Navy. Well, I was a senior officer there. I had 3 Wrens who served under me. That was a total naval complement there. And I was able to meet the chap who was running the photo interpretation school, who became great friends of ours, and until his death and his wife's death. But he was back. He'd been appointed to Singapore, so he met us from the troop ship, and we had a good run ashore there, and Raffles Hotel and all that sort of thing. Everyone has to go to Raffles Hotel in Singapore. Eventually got to Hong Kong, and I had my minesweeper, and by virtue of the fact that the senior officer minesweepers was due to be relieved, and he was relieved by a junior officer. To me, I found myself senior officer minesweepers in Hong Kong. They were all inshore minesweepers, and that was fun. And then my minesweeper, they were wooden. They were converted motor fishing vessels, but they did their job. They knew what they were converted and did the job they were meant to do. But anyway, because they were wood and that area of the world, they were subject to rot, some special wood rot due to seawater and that area. So my lords decided that the minesweeping force would be dismantled and discontinued, and I was appointed to the staff of the Commodore Hong Kong as his naval movements officer, and there I stayed for 2 more years, had a lovely apartment way up on the peak, out of all the hustle and bustle of Hong Kong, Victoria City, and the humidity was beautifully cool, above the clouds actually, for quite a few months of the year. Delightful, and by good fortune, the fact that we were just man and wife, no children, we had the apartment appointed to Flag Officer Second in Command Far East Fleet, for his use when his flagship got to Hong Kong. He could pop ashore with his wife and enjoy a few nights ashore. Well, he elected not to do that, so we had the apartment all the time we were there, and of course it had all the fittings suitable for a flag officer, which was even better. And then of course somehow or other, Betty said to me one day, she says, "I think I'm pregnant." Now, the old saying is, when you go to Hong Kong, you either come back with a camphorwood chest or a sprog, a babe. And well, the first time I was in Hong Kong, I came back with a camphorwood chest, which is still upstairs. And the second time, our firstborn, Alison, the one who lives over the road.
And a camphor chest is what?
Camphorwood chest.
Oh, okay.
A chest, a nice big chest made of camphorwood.
Got it. Okay.
So there we were. So, and in May 1956, I was due for reappointment, but then there was a big cut in the services, and the fact that I was on an extended service commission, my lords decided that we must get rid of any in similar position to me to retain the regular Royal Naval officers. So I was told that I would be leaving the service in, I think it was May. It was almost to the day I was mobilised, August 29th. Yeah. So we got home, and I went on leave and got my. I had to report to Portsmouth again for medical, and that was it. Goodbye, Navy. No more uniform, and that was my end of my naval career in uniform, I'm afraid. But the best days of my life, I think. So here we are now.
All right. Well, just we'll finish up here. But as we sit, we're in the United States of America. When did you decide to come and live here?
It was Hobson's choice, actually. I joined a company in 1956, an engineering company. Not that I was an engineer, but I was in office, administration idea of, and sales. They were involved with machinery for the rubber industry, hydraulic presses and rubber mills and things like that. Anyway, I took the job because they were starting an export division. I thought I might like that sort of thing, so I joined them. In fact, I knew the family from children's school, one thing or another. Anyway, I joined them, and they fell on hard times, overran themselves, and Black Clawson were looking for a place to do their equipment overseas, and they were utilising a company other than their own. So to have one they had full command of made it ideal, and the fact that the one brother in my company had a brother who was in Black Clawson, a director, both directors, that helped it. So and they decided to keep the division I was running and incorporate it with Black Clawson. So they asked me if I'd like to stay on, which I did, and this was in 1960. And eventually it was decided that they were going to, or they sent me over in 65 because we'd sold some of my equipment over here. They sent me over for a couple of months, and then decided they were going to cut off that division. So when I got back, the president said to me, he said, well, we can give you a job in the States, or ask you to find another job over here. So as I was in my sort of late 40s, and it became a Hobson's choice. I elected to come over here, and I was sent to the division in Hamilton, Ohio. Haven't regretted it at all. But
And you've been here ever since?
I've been here ever since, yeah.
Have you ever become a U.S. citizen? Or
I haven't, no.
So you're still a British citizen? I'm still a British citizen. And you're still technically in the Navy, you had said?
Yeah, well, I mean, while I was over here some years ago, I had my wartime appointment if ever war was declared again, and I would be called up and I'd be serving. Actually, it was a detachment to Naval Intelligence Division.
Okay.
So there we are.
All right. Well, as we approach the end of the interview, is anything else you'd like to add or comments you'd like to make?
I think I probably bored you to death.
Well, you've covered it pretty thoroughly.
Well, I'm sure there are one or two things I've probably forgotten, but Anyway, but well, there we are.
Well, let me finish up then. So, as the witness to war, you've traveled far and seen much,
Yeah.
and a grateful globe thanks you for your service.
Very grateful. As I say, war is awful, terrible, but I had a good war.
Well,
if
you got home.
If you could understand that.
You came home in one piece, and you had some major accomplishments.
Yeah. The only injury I had was I broke my wrist when I was in active service time. Subsequently, in peacetime, I broke a rib playing cricket. Oh, and I broke my little toe also playing cricket. For the Navy, I'm playing for the Navy team.
Okay, so they're technically war wounds.
Yeah, secondary war wounds.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, well.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good, I enjoyed it.